Hey buddy, welcome back to the channel and to World of Warships. So today I will showcase a game of the Tier 8 Russian premium cruiser, Kutuzov, Mikhail Kutuzov. And it's a 4-cap domination game on the map Northern Lights. And Kutuzov is one of those considered OP broken premiums that Wargaming took out of circulation. And if you just looked at my AA sector control, you know that this is a bit of an older game that has been sitting on my computer for a bit too long. So, as I was saying, this ship is considered being broken and overpowered, and it's kind of hilarious in one way that they took this out of circulation and then they created Smolensk, which is pretty much Kutuzov on crack. But of course, then they also took Smolensk out of circulation, and I'm guessing that Smolensk will never return, especially to the shop or as a possibility to gain in-game. I'm guessing that you will be able to perhaps get Smolensk in a broken Christmas container or something like that. If you spend 800 euros or something, you could probably get Smolensk. But as I said, this ship has been somewhat power crept since its early overpowered status days. But of course, you can't really argue with this ship still being pretty darn good. And if you have experience playing the Smolensk, well, then you pretty much know how to play the Kutuzov as well. But one thing that I actually liked about the Smolensk when it came out is that you actually have a couple of choices on how you want to build the Smolensk. And I think the Smolensk is actually a bit unique in this game for that reason. Because I'm probably the minority that choose to build my Smolensk with the range build instead of the extreme Daka build that many other players choose to do. And of course, having the range build on the Smolensk, which gives you a range about 19.2 kilometers, you do lose out on a little bit of that monstrous DPM that you could achieve in the Smolensk if you use the other build. But I really like the flexibility of the range build in the Smolensk, and just being able to be that efficient and affect that big part of the map in any match is something that I will always try to go for. And Kutuzov, of course, don't really have the same choice. You have a pretty great range from the start, and you have 19.1 kilometers compared with the Smolensk 19.2. But of course, Smolensk has quite higher DPM with its fast reload. So this is a 14-point captain, but if you look at my detection range whenever I actually stop shooting, you will notice that I have, I think, 12 point something detection on the Kutuzov right now in this game. And that is actually without the concealment expert. And with concealment expert, I think you can get your concealment down to about 11.1 kilometers or something close to that. So I have actually choose to, even though I have a 14-point captain on my Kutuzov, my old 19-point captain, I switched to Smolensk when I purchased that ship. So even though I have a 14-point captain on this ship, I choose to get IFHE instead of concealment. But I will probably build into concealment expert with the last 4 skills. But I think IFHE is actually more viable to get first and then take concealment expert, because you will pretty much be shooting all the time anyways. So having 11 point something concealment instead of 12 isn't really a deal breaker, especially when you have a range of 19.1 kilometers. I mean, you can kite pretty well in this ship. And that is actually another thing that this ship has in common with the tier 10 Smolensk. That even though you on paper are a papered armor cruiser, which should pretty much just explode if a battleship just sneezes your way. But for some reason, of course, some good reason, Wargaming has made these super ultra thinly armed Russian cruisers so that if a battleship shoots at you, those shells will just punch straight through the entire ship without igniting. So you will it's very unusual for you to eat full citadels. You can sometimes eat a penetration, but it's very unusual. So these ships, even though they are equipped with smoke screens, and those are pretty good to use, especially when you see your priority target bloom up and you see like 4 or 5 ships starting to target you, then it's a good thing to slow down and smoke up. But even when the smoke screen is on cooldown, you can pretty much just kite from a long distance and just get away with it, because you will usually not end up taking that much damage. The ships you usually need to look out for, playing both Kutuzov and Smolensk, is Conquerors and Thunderers, because many players love to go full in HE in those battleships, and if you shoot those kind of calibers HE shells at Kutuzov and Smolensk, you can actually pretty much devastate both of these ships. So that is a good tip, both for those battleship players and Kutuzov players and Smolensk players, that you have to be a bit cautious when you close to a British battleship, because those are actually the ones that can really counter a Smolensk or a Kutuzov. And of course, if any other battleship actually choose to switch to HE and shoot a Smolensk or Kutuzov, they will also be pretty efficient. But that's the problem. Battleship players don't really like to change ammunition for something. They just like to stick with their AP during the entire match. And that is why they always cry and whine in chat that Smolensk and Kutuzovs are so overpowered. And of course, they are in one way, so they're not entirely wrong. But of course, you also need to try and counter them as efficient as possible. I mean, it's like sailing a Halland or a Östergötland and a carrier is trying to drop you. And you don't put on your AA. And you just let the carrier drop you. And then you whine about carriers being OP when you actually have a way to counter them. So as you can see, this match has been a pretty uphill struggle until this moment, where we actually have a pretty decent equal game. But until this game is over, that will change a bit as well. But that is of course some of the strength of these two Russian premium cruisers, both Kutuzov and Smolensk. With all this power, you have the opportunity to actually carry and help push a team to a victory. Now, you could of course choose to play this ship without IFHE skill and go for Demolition Expert and try to set as many fires as possible. And that was actually something I considered doing at the start of the IFHE rework, because Kutuzov has always been this great fire starter in my experience. So of course I didn't want to change that in any way. But I know I usually try to look at the Little White Mouse on the NA World of Warship forums. She usually do reviews of ships, and she's very great at explaining and calculating which is the best route to go, pretty much in every change that the Wargaming implements. And she had done a great job about the IFHE rework that you can read more about on the NA forum. So I pretty much just go with her recommendation in this case, and she recommends pretty much for every ship, for every class, so you can pretty much just read what ship you play, what class you play, and then she tells you if it's viable to go with the IFHE skill, which is expensive 4-point skill, or if you should pretty much drop IFHE for something else. But she has recommended IFHE on the Kutuzov, which of course nerfs its fire starting chances somewhat, but as you can see, I already set 10 fires in this game, so it's not really that nerfed. And of course, having the IFHE skill makes your alpha damage of your HE shells so much greater. And that is something that is a bit more consistent. I mean, just landing a HE shell in comparison with actually being able to set a fire with a HE shell, then I actually want my HE shell to do much more alpha damage than just have a slight better chance at getting fires. So as you can see now, we are actually down 3 versus 5, and we have the same equal amount of caps, but the enemy team lead with about 300 points. So this game is actually starting to look pretty grim. But if it's one ship that can actually help turn a game like this, it is actually Kutuzov or, of course, Smolensk. So I managed to actually kill off this Montana, securing me my first kill of the game after 15 minutes and 114k damage. But of course, it's always nice to get a kill, but that's not the important part. the important part is that you help your team to push and manage to secure the map and the caps. So here, of course, we see this low HP carrier. I'm not really certain why this carrier player thought it was a great idea to push pretty much up further than any of his teammates. I mean, he's pretty much a sitting duck in the sea cap. So of course, as soon as our carrier spots him and I'm in range, I can pretty much kill him off. But then this Republic turns up as well, and of course I need to deal with him, because I can't really continue sailing towards the enemy carrier, showing a broadside to this Republic. So I'm just trying to angle as much as possible, trying to maneuver and pretty much dodge every potential salvo. But this Republic is shooting HE. I'm not really certain why. Maybe it's because he wants to shoot me. That could be a good decision. But shooting at this Cleveland, I think he could actually have done better with AP. Our CV actually managed to kill off the enemy CV, which was very low health. But now, unfortunately, I'm alone with our carrier. And of course, I will be the only ship spotted. And there is still 3 enemy ships that are probably pretty keen on shooting me. So there is enemy Shimakaze smoked up in the B cap. That's not really a problem for me. Of course, he could probably set me on fire, but as you can see, I try to maneuver as much as possible. The Republic is shooting HE, which could be probably pretty good, actually, against Kutuzov. But I'm really not sure if that's the reason he shoots HE, or if he just one of those battleship players. So I choose to smoke up, and I will start to try to work this Republic down. I managed to get a Witherer, setting my 16 fire, and I'm up to 150k damage. So this isn't really a problem for me as long as our carrier is able to spot for me. So I can deal with this Republic, but this Shimakaze seemed to have pushed because he got close enough to spot me even though I'm in a smoke screen. So I know the Shimakaze is very close, so I ping the map for our carrier, but I see the enemy Moskva instead. Shimakaze actually made a mistake. If he had not ran into my detection range sitting in a smoke, I would probably not have left my smoke and he would have successfully torped me. But instead he got me spotted, which made me, forced me to move. And now, well, his torps missed and he got killed. So now it's finally back to me and the carrier versus a low health Moskva. And I mean, this isn't really a fair fight, because we don't even have to consider taking the caps, since this is the last ship alive, and being a Moskva, he has a really slim chance of actually being able to disengage. So I mean, this guy is smoked pretty much. He can't really do anything except for trying to set some fires on me as well. But of course I have much greater DPM than he has, and I also have the carrier covering me, so and the carrier got the kill, which he totally deserved. But I think this was a pretty decent game anyways in the Kutuzov, and of course you are probably able to earn this in a container if you want to waste your money, but I'm not really sure if it's worth that. But got some good credits and experience anyways. Made number 1 in the team, which is always nice. Dropping a compliment for the carrier. Getting 2,500 base XP is always nice. And that is actually one of the good things about the Kutuzov in comparison to the Smolensk. That you will be fighting a lot of tier 10 ships. And getting this damage on a tier 10 ship when you're a tier 8 gives you much more experience and credits than if I had played this game in the Smolensk, which is a tier 10. So that said, I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Please leave a like and a comment below, and stay safe at home, and I see you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye bye.